This is the ballad of little deals and big deals. Tonight, we're talking about two major changes that the SBA is rolling out that are going to affect deals and how underwriting works and add a lot more scrutiny and just a lot more hoops that you have to jump through if you're doing a deal and you're trying to get a deal done.
Yeah, this one is quite a surprise actually. Starting October 1st, I'll cover the little deals first. Normally the SBA 7A was a program that was designed for deals or businesses that were going to need $500,000 or under $500,000, I guess. No deep underwriting, essentially is what it boiled down to. They just kind of had to do a review process, but it was nowhere near the level that a deal over $500,000 was going to get. Now they are saying, as of October 1st, any deals that are submitted have to be under $350,000 or at 350 and under to avoid the underwriting, like the deep underwriting. And what that means is more underwriting means more going in depth, more digging, more money. Because guess what? The SBA is not going to just do that for free. You're going to get charged for that. And what we were discussing before the show is, a deal that's $350,000 is usually not going to cash flow a ton 9 times out of 10. So what does this really mean for the buyer who's looking at a deal and a business that's going to get a loan at that level?
Stops being quite as good of a proposition and as good of a deal. Just to give you an idea, the fees really stack up. I'm finishing a deal pretty soon, hopefully, that is through an SBA lender, and the guarantee fee alone is about 50 grand. And that's just part of how it is. Now, this is a bigger deal, right? It's about just under a $2 million deal. But the guarantee fee alone is around 50 grand that goes to the SBA. And then there are other little fees that are packaged in that go to the bank for all the different things that they have to do for the underwriting. So when you get to deals like this that are smaller than 500 grand, between that kind of 350 and $500,000 mark, some of these things that have to get done they're still not going to, the cost is not going to go down that much compared to the bigger deals. But as a percentage of the whole deal, it's going to be quite a lot, right? If you're talking 5, 10, 15, 20 grand in different fees or more for a deal of that size, that's approaching the level where it's almost as big as the down payment that you have to put down on the loan, which it starts to get kind of excessive, in my opinion. It's just a lot. It seems like a lot of hoops to jump through for a deal. So I think you're going to see a lot less deals happen at that size.
I think we're going to see, like you said, a lot less deals happen, but probably a lot more people going to more traditional lending routes, or looking in their own group or community or around them to find that money, because it does, like you said, doesn't make any sense. And even though a price does not mean it is not directly correlated to a cash flow, 9 times out of 10, a business is not cash flowing very much is going to be much cheaper than one that is cash flowing very, very heavily. So this is going to, I think, like you said, kill a lot of broker deals, kill a lot of prices. It's going to be interesting to see whether we see businesses even get billed for that rate, and what's going to happen to the marketplace shift as a whole on that one.
I think there's two main types of buyers that this is going to affect. There's going to be your smaller kind of first-time buyers, maybe someone leaving a corporate job or, just with some business experience wanting to buy a new business and get involved in something new, that's just kind of buying this business as the first leg of this journey that they're on. They're not using it to expand to something else. They're just using it to get into a business. If you're trying to get into a small business where you're going to be the owner operator, you might have been looking at a deal that was going to cost you between 350 and 500,000. And, before, if you could get in with something that costs you $450,000 or just under $500,000, there's a good chance that there's, over $100,000 a year in cash flow there for you that's available. That is a great amount of money to make for an owner operator operating a very small business. If all of a sudden those fees go up a lot and this gets way more complicated, that just might not be the direction you go anymore. It might be tougher to get a deal done. It might stop making as much financial sense with all these fees that have to get packaged in. And if you think about just the amount of extra money you're going to have to come up with just to get into it, it's going to price a lot of people out too.
It's just one of those things where once you're done with this deal and you can give us that full video breakdown and kind of when that video drops, once you're done with this thing, I think people are going to be pretty sideswiped by just how much time, effort, and extra money you guys kept having to pull in to do this thing. Because the guru says you bring your 10% or you find somebody to give you 10%, you're good. When that's not anywhere near what it took to even get this one done. This is it's a multi-million-dollar deal you're doing, but it's not to the level of what we're talking about the other half of this, which is deals that are $3 million or more will now require a quality of earnings report, a QOE. And that's important to note because that is an expensive report. It's a vital report. It's always good to get them if you can, especially on bigger deals. Many times on the deals under that and even smaller, people tend to just look at the books and go, well, can kind of see what it is, and they kind of trust at face value. But when you add a requirement for a quality of earnings report, you're talking minimum, like probably 20, 30 grand just to get, a team of accountants likely to scour the books to make sure that what they're saying is what's accurate, which best case it is, worst case it's not. And excuse me, but it's always kind of a split relief of, yeah, they're exactly what they said. Great. I just spent $20K to say the numbers were right. Some people feel a certain way about that. I mean, what do you think, Brody? If you were approaching this deal and it was a $3.5 million and they were like, hey, I need you to fork up about probably for a deal that size, $35,000 just so we can make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed.
Well, I think it depends on what kind of deals the SBA banks and the banks that are participating in this and the SBA related lenders are giving on this type of thing. I think we're going to see this market get a little bit more commoditized. I actually think this is a really good requirement, right? We don't have one for the business that we're working on acquiring right now. It's a good bit smaller than that 3 million threshold. I think that 3 million threshold is a important and a good one. I think they actually kind of hit it on the nose there. Once you get to that size, you're talking about just a level of complexity of business at that point. It's a lot more difficult on average to kind of like wrap your head fully around and know exactly what you're seeing. That's the best way I can describe it, is like once you kind of cross that mark, the level of complexity to someone acquiring a business, like you're probably just going to struggle to really be able to pick apart the full picture unless you're incredibly experienced at this and incredibly savvy. Maybe you have a CPA background or something like that. You might have a great CPA that can help you pick it apart. For something smaller than that, I think there's a lot better chance you can pick it apart. In the case of the one we're working on, just the business model itself is so simple that we didn't feel it was required, and the SBA didn't require it. But I think once you get to that level, this is a really net good thing. I've seen where you can get QOVs for as little as $5,000. I don't think they're going to be as quality. I think you're going to see a lot of kind of like shisty pop-ups for these types of QOVs. I think there's going to be a little bit of a rush of like existing CPA firms and small accounting firms that kind of rush towards that market and try to do more of these, and they might not have quite the right system set up to churn a bunch of these out, and might be trying to undercut the market because people don't want to pay a lot for these because they're required. So I think it all depends on, what kind of options end up available for these. If there's good options out there and they're able to deliver them for an appropriate price, then it's a totally different story. And I think it's a net good thing. The one big thing I'll say is it's going to get a lot better to be the person taking the second or third look at the business. Sometimes you come in and you look at a business that's up for sale and another buyer was already really circling the hoop, so to speak, a few times thinking about it, and they ended up not going with it for some reason. I've actually inquired about a business before and been able to look at a quality of earnings statement that I didn't have to pay for because another buyer had passed on it. And that was awesome, right? Because you don't have to pay for the quality of earnings statement, but you get to basically steal someone else's homework. So those are some opportunities I would look out for as a buyer once this changes, is if you can find some of these that maybe someone else didn't go with because maybe they didn't like what was in the QOV, and maybe you'll see the same thing. Or maybe, they just passed for a different reason, but they had to get a QOV to get started because it's a requirement. I think there's some opportunity there.
I will be interested to see how franchises will be reacting to this, especially the ones that sell larger territories. Will the franchises provide a QOV as part of the deal, or will they still require the potential purchaser to get one? I'll be very interested to see how their business shifts along with these new SBA rules.
It's a good point. I mean, I think there's a decent chance that franchise are going to want to see that as well. But I think a lot of times, just from what I've seen, because the one that we're acquiring is part of a franchise as well. So there's requirements on both sides. The franchisor has requirements, the lender has requirements. A lot of I would say the heavy lifting of the requirements is really on the lender side. They're the ones that are a lot more detailed and have more requirements. So I think you'll see those kind of passed downstream to the franchisors as well. And they'll say, hey, there's probably a reason for that. So I think, the small one, the one that the underwriting requirements that are going to apply to these really small deals, I don't think that's going to be good, to be honest. I think it's kind of unnecessary for some of these small ones. Maybe it helps people avoid some bad situations here and there. But for these really small businesses, a lot of times you kind of know what you're getting. It's not like you're thinking that you're getting a business that's fully built out and packaged and ready to go that you can just oversee. Like, that you're going to have to step in. I hope so. At least I would hope people would know that at that level, if it's doing really less than 200,000 a year in cash flow, maybe even less than 300,000 or 400,000 a year in cash flow, you're going to be an owner operator, and you're going to have to be heavily involved for it to continue doing the same amount of revenue and profit it was doing before. So I think people kind of know what they're getting with that. It's not like any underwriting is going to change that. Like, you have to step in and really take the reins of it. But for some of these deals where like already established business owners are just trying to expand their business more, and they want to scoop up like one of these little deals between 350 and 500, I think it's just totally unnecessary to have a lot of underwriting involved with that. They just kind of want to grab the book of business and get it on good terms.
No, I agree 100%. This is a weird kind of flex that they're doing on some of these, but I think when it comes on the heels of the larger ones that they're starting to require it, I do think that's a good precautionary measure for both sides.
So let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think these requirements are good? Do you agree with both of them, one of them, neither of them? Is this going to affect a deal that you're working on? Is it going to affect the way that you look at doing deals in the future? Let us know in the comments what you think. And we do these every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is part 1 of the series that we're doing on these new requirements. There's a handful of other requirements that the SBA dropped, and we're going to cover that in 2 more parts of this series over the next couple weeks. But we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in.